everyone. Thanks for listening to the podcast. The SnoWest Show is powered by Trails West RPM Trailers. You'll be hearing a lot more about the new Altitude Series RPM trailers from Trails West, but I just wanted to thank them for joining the show. We've used Trails West RPM trailers exclusively for years and love how smooth they pull. They're loaded with cool features that make the trip easy. You can really tell that they're designed and built by snowmobilers who use them all the time. Dan Adams and Matt Entz count on Trails West RPM trailers to get to the snow every day, and so do we at SnoWest. Use the Build Your Trailer button at trailswesttrailers.com to check out all the features and options. Thanks and enjoy the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the SnoWest Show. I'm your host, Ryan Harris. We're shooting live from the Montana Snowmobile Show, the first ever Montana Snowmobile Show, up in Kalispell, Montana, up in your neck of the woods. This is Toby Shepherd here on the SnoWest Show today. We're going to catch up with Toby and talk about a lot of things. David Shepherd, Shepherd's Garage, the old days of hill climbing, your story of getting into hill climbing.
Okay.
But we're up here in your neck of the woods. Like, how far are we from your place? Where you?
Yeah, so I'm in the southwestern corner, and we're up in northern Montana. So I'm 4 or 5 hours away.
So do you ever come up and ride this area or Sealy?
I do. We come up fairly often to Sealy. I've missed a few trips into Kalispell in the last couple of years. I know the guys rode around Hungry Horse and around this area, but I look to ride this area a little bit more this year. So.
There's probably a lot of people out there saying, hey, shut up, guys. This is our pocket and nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
I was talking to David McKinney, and he was just talking about, like, yeah, it's phenomenal up here. Like, once guys finally travel up to ride this, they just keep coming back. And I've done Sealy a long time ago. I've done some Washington stuff. But this pocket, this far up here, I've never ridden this. I've been into BC, but not like right here.
And well, that's the thing. We kind of call it Montana's Canada. Is the snow here? You're a little lower elevation than the rest of Montana, and the base sets up a lot better. And it, the terrain is. There's a lot of features in the terrain, especially around Sealy area. So. Very similar riding to some of the stuff we hit in Canada early season. And, our mountains are up to 9,000 feet, and it takes a lot of snow to get a good base before you're not bouncing off rocks. So early season in my neck of the woods in the southwest corner takes a little while to develop. Mm-hmm. But so we come up north and work our way down. So. Is
it just because it snows so much more up here on the early season dumps, or the terrain is just different?
Well, my 40 inches is a lot different than the 40 inches up here, and it's just the moisture content.
Okay.
So lower elevation,
just creates that base faster.
Heavier snow that you're not going to dig down through and spin on rocks.
Gotcha.
So it's just a denser snow that it requires less snow for good coverage.
And you guys, the Montana crew, you and Sam and Keith and
Dylan.
Dylan, yeah.
Dylan
I
Hart.
always get Tyler or Dylan mixed up. You guys make a run up to BC a couple times a year, don't you? Early in the season?
Yeah. So for the last 2-3 years, we kind of, joined forces and decided just to, train together and it wasn't anything formal and that might change a little bit, and we can talk about that later. But no, we kind of started riding together 2-3 years ago with a purpose to train for RMSHA. And so we kind of formed a circuit. We head up to Canada, and then we work our way down, northern Montana, wherever the snow is, anywhere. I won't give away all of our spots either.
I was waiting to see if you're going to start listing names here, because I'm sure there's people who are like,
Keith's like,
keep talking.
Yep. So, northern Montana, western Montana, our neck of the woods, work over, into Idaho and go see that crew over there around Boise and McCall.
Well, and a lot of people know about Sealy, but I don't think many people know where to go in Sealy. Like Caleb stuff where he posts the big boulder fields and all that. Probably not an easy place to find, even though you can go to Sealy.
Right. Yeah, Canada's a prime example. You can go to Canada and there'll be 750 to 1,000 people that buy tickets, and you can go up there and not see anybody. And there's just so much terrain. Sealy's a little bit more limited, but same thing. You can always go find your pockets, and we know where, we might break into a pocket, and it's like, yeah, Caleb Caleb was here.
So,
and then
yeah, I'm
go
sure.
find a different one. But
Yeah, I'm sure a zone where Caleb's been, it looks like a war zone.
yeah, you're like, Caleb got here first.
Oh, that's funny. So you mentioned that you and Dylan and Sam and Keith go out and ride backcountry together to practice for RMSHA, or is it like when you say practice for hill climbing, is it like air quotes, or do you really get a lot out of that?
Oh, geez, yeah. I mean, we're training, and that's mind, body, whatever. I mean, we're going out there to burn as much fuel and energy into getting better and faster and in the steepest, most technical terrain that we can ride. And, that just helps with being comfortable on the sled, reaction time, and just knowing what you and your sled are capable of. And, you're not necessarily beating the same track, building trenches every day, but we'll do that. We'll do that every once in a while to reach a target.
Does it get competitive though? Like
it does,
before you
sure.
just backcountry riding, like what's that like?
Oh, geez. I mean, it's just like, you got to follow somebody, but then when we know where we're going, it's a race to the top. And, so yeah, we're constantly pushing each other. We're constantly pushing each other and just trying to get better. So, no, it's fun. It's been a lot of fun because all of us have a similar mindset. Our sole goal isn't there just to go have fun. It's to be focused on getting better, getting faster. And so, you kind of got to be on a schedule. We're there. We go there to burn fuel and get back home, recover, and get up in the morning to go again.
I imagine you take it pretty seriously. I've ridden with Keith a couple times, but I haven't ridden with the other guys. And it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. We're on the snow. We're not dicking around in the trailer till noon.
No.
Eating breakfast and watching videos and getting warm. We're riding. We're here to ride.
Yeah, and we don't keep a schedule, but there's no, hey, I'm a little tired today. Let's go get breakfast, and then we'll be out there at noon. It's not like that. We're gonna, we get up early and get everything ready and get on the snow early and get home, recover, go the next day. So.
And you started racing the RMSHA circuit later than those guys.
I did, yeah.
So take us through that. When did you start racing?
So yeah, I mean, a lot of people. I get a lot. Well, you grow up on a sled, but yeah, I started racing snowcross when I was 8 years old, and I had a 340 fan, and we went to Island Park, and I think ran in West Yellowstone. Mm-hmm. So we did the privateer racing, and then the Expo did a snowcross, and so I got my feet wet in that, and then did that for a couple years, and my dad passed away in an avalanche in 2021 when I was 9. 2001.
2001.
Yep. So after that, my grandpa took me racing for a couple years, and then kind of just pulled away from snowmobiling a little bit and got into sports. And that's kind of where I put a lot of my effort and passion. But I always knew I was going to want to return to snowmobiling. But played basketball and football through high school. Didn't ride a sled a whole lot. Didn't mountain ride, and as you could expect, my family, they weren't too excited about me wanting to go mountain ride or race. But I made a decision in 2011 that I wanted to race RMSHA, and I was in my freshman year in college. My uncle owned a Polaris dealership, and I'm like, done with football, I'm going to buy a snowmobile, and I had never mountain ridden before. So for a guy that's, 19 years old, I'd never really, aside from being on my dad's handlebars and riding a 340 in an oval up in the mountains, I had never ridden a mountain sled. I'd never had a liquid-cooled snowmobile. So
Really?
No, I had a 550 fan. That's the last sled I owned from the time I was 12 to I believe I was 19 when I went and bought that 2011 and decided I was going to race. So I always knew I wanted to do RMSHA. MD Peterson was still putting on the David Shepard Memorial Race at Lost Trail, and I was like, I'm gonna do that race. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to get a sled ready and do that race, I better go do one prior. And it just so happened, like, I was familiar with Afton. I'd been to Afton. I don't remember the hill, but I was like, oh, we could go do Afton. And so the first race I decided to go do is Afton, Wyoming.
Afton, the beginner hill on the circuit. Exactly.
Yep. And I remember the first ride, the first mountain ride I ever went on, Keith was, he was young and he had won in '08 and he'd had really successful years, and I wanted to ride with him and learn from him as far as RMSHA goes. And I remember the first time I went riding with him, and it's like, all right, just follow me. And it was brutal. And I had no idea what I was doing. I couldn't side hill, couldn't do anything. And, but yeah, I started mountain riding as my focus was I want to do RMSHA, and that's the reason I wanted this snowmobile, So my mindset was a little different, but yeah, my family wasn't fully on board, but when I basically said, I'm buying a sled, I'm making the payments, and they eventually came around that they weren't going to change my mind. So, my stepdad, Kurt Owen, is like, all right, well, I'll join you in going to the races. And that's one of the biggest helps I had, getting through the first couple of years, for sure. And since then, I think he's missed one race in, 15 years.
Oh, that's cool.
So, no, we pull up to mountains, like, we're racing up Afton? Like... No way.
Maybe you should have looked at a couple pictures before signing up for that one.
I just went head first. I had never met Darren Gould aside from when I was a kid. I remember walking into Rick and Darren's trailer, thinking they were absolute heroes.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching the SnoWest Show. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and check out all of our past episodes and get alerts on new shows. Real quick though, I just wanted to thank the companies that support the SnoWest Show. Fly Racing is the #1 gear brand in Supercross and Motocross, and they bring that same product innovation to snowmobiling. Whether it's monosuits, helmets, gloves, boots, or goggles, Fly Racing has you covered for your snowmobiling gear head to toe. Check them out at flyracing.com or at flyracing.snow on socials. Thanks to Deviant Ink for supporting the show. Head on over to deviantink.com and check out their custom wrap builder with new interactive design tools that make designing and customizing wraps easy. Their new colorizer tool randomizes color combinations until you land on the look you love. Then try the design mixer tool to see all the Deviant Ink designs in the colors you've selected. Check it out at deviantink.com. Thanks to Tempest Optics. These goggles feature an automatic lens heating system that sets the bar for fog prevention. We wear them. We love them. They have a huge assortment of lens options that are easy to swap. We get 3 to 5 rides on a single charge out of these, and they will stay charged for a very long time. No on and off switch, no external battery block, no power cords. Just charge them and ride. Check them out at tempestoptics.com and on social media. And welcome to the show, EasyLink. We've seen EasyLink products on trucks, snowmobiles, and UTVs for a while now. EasyLink connects your truck, your UTV, or your snowmobile with one device, making diagnostics, recalibrations, flash support, and factory functions easier than ever. One device, one platform, all your machines connected with EasyLink. See more at easylink.com. And thanks to Caliber Products. Caliber Products has been the leader in trailer glides and snowmobile shop wheels for years, but did you know they also do flooring for trailers and shops, ramps, and a bunch of other accessories? One of the coolest things they offer is the Traction Ladder HD. This allows your track to engage with the ramp sooner for safer, more controlled loading on any sled deck ramp or bed loading ramp. Check out all the products Caliber offers at caliberproductsinc.com. Hey, thanks again for listening, and now back to the show.
Walking into Rick and Darren's trailer, thinking they were absolute heroes. And Darren brought my sled in, revalved the shocks, sitting in front of...
Yeah, that's Darren.
Yep. Revalved my shocks, sitting in front of the starting line in front of the pits, and we got the shocks changed and, made sure everything was set up properly on the old Assault, and went up the hill and didn't qualify. Went home that night, and that was my first taste of hill climbing.
And so, what did you think at that point? Like, any second thoughts about this plan to just jump into RMSHA racing?
Oh yeah, I definitely like froze on the hill, like couldn't move. Like I have no idea what happened, but so the first time made it about halfway up and like looked at a gate that I wasn't gonna get, and I froze and turned down the hill but the last run, the third run, so I was running semi-pro, and there was no amateur at that time. Hop into semi-pro. There was stock, improved, and mod. So there's only 3 classes. There's now 4. The mod class I went over, and it was like that was enough, right? So I don't know. I ended up back when I was racing semi-pro, there's 40-some. Because, again, there was no amateur class. So there's a big semi-pro class. And we probably had 42 riders or something, and ended up 25th or something, and so I was happy with that. I was like, all right, well, just work forward to the next race, and so I was just getting my feet wet. I didn't do the whole circuit. I was just going to do those 2 races. And
so you went from Afton, you went up and did that Lost Trail.
Yep, Lost Trail
Memorial.
Race. Yep, and same thing. Didn't get qualified there. But I didn't really let that get me down. I'd probably at that time ridden or owned a liquid-cooled snowmobile for 500-600 miles. So that's my experience when I started racing. And at Lost Trail, there's probably a 10-foot hole, and I got stuck in the hole every time. So that was a little bit frustrating. Didn't get over the hill. But I knew the next year I was going to do the whole circuit, and kind of went from there.
Yeah.
So
shift gears for a second. We mentioned your dad, the legend in the sport, David Shepard.
Yep.
The iconic 22, and raced for so long. I remember, I've got one memory of David because I grew up going to Jackson every single year because we would go over, and I would either go over with Steve Janes or some of the other guys from the magazine that were covering the race. So when I got a little bit older, when I was in high school, is when I started covering for, we did a magazine back then called Snow Action that was just racing news.
Yeah.
So I would go cover events a little bit there, started taking pictures a little bit, but I just remember, and I don't remember the year it was, but it was when your dad they used to run Jackson all the way to the top.
Yep.
Right now they cut you off at the last cat track.
They do.
Which is smart.
Yep. It is.
For obvious reasons, but they used to run them right up that top chute, right underneath the chairlift.
Yep. Right now, you'd end up on the gondola.
Oh my gosh, you'd fly so far over the top of that thing and land on the backside of the mountain at the speed you could carry over by the time you go through the timing lights. But I remember I can't remember if I was on the chairlift or up on the platform. I'm pretty sure I was on the chairlift, and your dad came flying up and went through that gap so fast and jumped into that. There used to be a little storage building right there.
Oh yeah.
And jumped and nosed into that building.
Yeah.
And kind of wadded up, not anything hard, just kind of wadded up, stood on the ground, jumped up, and just stuck his hands up in the air. Like, that was classic. That was kind of one of the Dave Shepard moments, because there weren't a lot of people going all the way over the top back then. And that took like a full hand-built open mod sled to get to that point, because you didn't have a stocker going over until 1994.
Right.
With Mark Thompson. But that hill used to just be so challenging, and the wild stuff that they would build, that a lot of it came out of Montana.
Yep.
And some of the coolest mods back then, when this was all evolving and Jackson Hill Climb was just getting enormously popular, was the stuff that your dad was racing. Shepherd's Garage, and who was the other guy that was racing with your dad out of Shepherd's Garage?
That was Cale Christensen.
Cale. Okay, yeah, Cale.
Yep.
All right, yeah.
Yep.
Ah, man, those were just heyday stuff. So when did you take your dad's wedge chassis mod? It had the blue and red hood on it.
Yep.
When did you race that?
So that was 2014. I took a memorial ride up Jackson.
Yeah.
So no race, no nothing. And I think Curtis Freed, he had a booth in there, and he's like, yeah, bring your dad's sled up. And I brought it up and got it in there. And I don't know who pulled the strings. I never mentioned anything. it was my first year riding pro, I believe, and I think Kurt came up to me and said, "You're going to make a run up the hill in memory of your dad on this thing." And it's like, it hadn't been started, fuel hadn't been changed. Like, they're dumping chain case oil out and getting it running.
Like, we don't even know if this will start, but you're doing it. You're going up the mountain.
Yep. And I think it was the year prior or that year, my dad had sold that sled not too long before he passed away, and to Craig Cornell in Dillon. And he was out of Dillon. And he had raced that sled a little bit, a couple times, and had some success, but kept it pristine, kept it pretty original. And he gave it back to me, and that's where I started showing it off a little bit. Mm-hmm. And, no, really cool to have that piece of history. And then run that up Jackson was definitely my most memorable run up Jackson. And that probably won't change.
I don't think so, because there hasn't been another event like that. There's nothing really that matters. They do a lot of cool things at Jackson.
Yep.
They're very good at that. And they brought the vintage class in. And so now you're seeing mod sleds from after that era, but kind of in that still hand-built tube chassis, one-off mod builds going up the mountain. But not to that level.
No, everyone loves the trailing arm, triple pipe, twin pipe sleds. Mm. They're the vintage is technically 20 years old, and you can run the rev and stuff, and
yeah, you're talking 05.
Yeah.
05, 06.
Doesn't seem like that long ago.
You could take an M7 up there in the vintage class now.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting this year. But, yeah, I mean, people are there to watch the old tube chassis, the old mods, see what motors are in them, and pretty cool stuff. I did race my dad's sled in that first vintage race they had there, and it's crazy how well it handles that hill. If you line up a 155 boost new sled to my dad's old rolled sled, they're about the same length. You had geometry that was pretty close for being 30 years old. So
how wide is that though? Like, what's the ski stance on your dad's mod?
It's 40 some. It's not extreme. They went more extreme after that with some of the front ends.
Yeah, I think some of those Zebros front ends were like
45. Yeah, 46.
Pretty dang wide.
Yep. So I haven't measured it. I bet it's 44, something in there.
Yeah.
But 136 track, and it's rolled all the way back to be about the same length as a 155 modern sled.
So when they tell you, when they come up with this idea at Jackson, you're already there.
Yeah.
And you didn't go to Jackson with that sled with the intent of riding it up the hill.
No.
What did you think? Like, when they come up with this idea, you're just like, heck yeah, I'm doing it.
Well, first thing was like, I called my, to be honest, I called my grandpa, and he's like, "Oh, the hell, you don't need to do you're going to wreck that sled." And I'm like, oh no, I can't not do it. But I'm sitting there, man, if I roll this thing down, I will never never forgive myself if I roll this thing down Jackson. But there was no gates, no nothing. And kind of run the old, that's how Jackson used to be, is you didn't have to weave through the gates at Jackson. They'd open the top up.
They didn't need to slow you down.
No, they needed to give you a shot at the hill and give you, you could be creative on how you wanted to get up. But, pick your line. Mm-hmm. But, so that's basically what I did, just pick my line. Really cool moment at Jackson. And, like you said, they have a lot of cool stuff at Jackson, but that was pretty fun.
Do you get a lot of feedback about that? Because I feel like there are people that were at the race, and there's people that weren't at the race that saw that picture, that were big fans of your dad, or big fans of hill climbing, in the 80s and 90s, and just saw that, and that just instantly became like this iconic photo of you on Dave's sled going up the mountain.
For sure.
But knowing that wasn't Dave. And so then they're figuring out, who's Toby?
Yep.
What's the story here?
Oh, I mean, the comment I get on that is that sent shivers down my spine. Mm-hmm. That's probably the most common, comment I get on that. But
where's that sled now?
Sitting in the shop. Yep. It's It's sitting in the shop, and I need to kind of keep it up. You know, the shocks are a little bit rough right now. I'm gonna get those rebuilt and just keep maintaining it and keep it so it's runnable.
So describe what it's like firing that sled up and climbing something on it, because it's nothing like a Matrix Patriot Boost.
No, and it's a 700 twin tube chassis. I think he built it in '96 before the 700 was out. I think I was told, all of this is secondhand, I was told it was one of 5 motors that was released through SLP. It's still got an SLP power dome on it. I mean, they haven't changed the name. It's a power dome head with, twins on it. But for being a twin, I mean, I ran a 1200 triple last year. That 700 of my dad's is probably the loudest sled I've ever fired. And I don't know what it is in the porting or the pipe, but it is an angry sounding sled. And, now they have the vintage class and you fire up all the mods on Thursday and everyone's pumped. But, when I fired that sled up in 2014, everyone's like, what is that? Mm-hmm. They hadn't heard that for a while. So, you crack the throttle just to move 10 feet. You're going to hear it.
Yeah.
So,
no, that era was so cool. Like we used to, this is another thing that the people who grew up and started riding in the mid 2000s or late 2000s probably never experienced. Like we used to take, for spring riding, you would take your hood off, like say a 93, 95 Indy Storm.
Yep.
Take the hood off. There's 25 pounds. Take your mufflers off. There's another 20 pounds.
Yep.
So now you're just running open stingers with no hood. And that's what we were doing in high school. Was spring. We'd look forward to spring riding. You'd pull the hood off. You'd pull the muffler off. You'd put some earplugs in, and you go out and you'd be like an open modder guy. And
oh yeah.
You're not any faster because those sleds don't go any faster. But man, they sounded cool. You pull the muffler off and you're just running open stingers, and that's got to be like that. It's just kind of that feel from open mods at Jackson.
Oh, for sure. I mean, to be honest, again, I'd never ridden that snowmobile. Like, my first ride on that snowmobile, I rode it in the field. I cracked the throttle. It had a different hood on it. It didn't have the original hood, so I took the hood off of it. I got it running one time when Craig gave it to me, and I ran it probably 3 runs for 30 seconds, a minute or two. And but I ran it in a field on flat ground and pulled it back in and parked it in the shop, and then we took it to Jackson. But so I opened it up on the hill, and I guess my first thought is this thing's way faster than I expected it to be. And well, new boost sleds are wicked fast, but I mean that sled had some legs.
Yeah,
and
you get it wound up, and it's got power. Those things were impressive.
Yeah, and it's a 136 track. I mean, we're still running 155s with 1.5-inch paddles, and that thing's a 136. 2 inches paddles, and this thing's 136 with 1.5 inch, and the throttle response is unreal on those, twin pipes improver. It's basically an improver now.
Yeah. Well, it's basically a snowcross sled.
Right.
Same track length as a snowcross sled.
Exactly.
Same lug height.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, that's wild.
So,
what memories do you have of your dad racing?
Oh, a couple stick out. I mean, it's funny, you have my kids that hang out with Keith Curtis's kids, and they'll say, my dad's faster than your dad, or you get banter. And I remember that. And when I was a kid around the circuit, everyone's like, your dad doesn't count. He's good. And he was just a hero in my eyes back then. And yeah, I wasn't paying attention to racing. I was off sliding down the hill and just enjoying the weekend more or less. But I do remember one time wheeling his mod sled after, I don't know what year it was, but I was sitting on his sled and they were wheeling it back to the trailer, and I knew he had just won because everyone's standing in line congratulating him. And it's like, it's like, yeah, I want to do this, And I was probably 6 or 7, very vague memories of that. going to the Virginian, and I remember that a little bit.
Yeah, Calcutta. And
Yeah, one of my favorite memories of my dad at Jackson is, so the guys would always get up and go to breakfast at 5 in the morning. I don't remember the diner, on a corner diner in Jackson. And Mike Alsop and Pete Colvin were his mechanics. So I'd always hang out with them. And it was Mike Alsop, Pete Colvin, and my dad. And I was sitting across from my dad, I think next to Pete. And these guys come in around 6, and they're talking about the hill climb, and they're stoked. They're happy to be there, and my dad's wearing a player's shirt or something like that, and they say, "Hey, do you race? Are you racing?" And he's like, "Yeah, I race." And they're like, "No way! Like, what's it like? Do you know David Shepard?" And he's like, "Yeah, I know him." And I'm like sitting there, he like trying to tell him, and they're like, and Pete grabs my arm and he like pulls me down. And, "Oh, what's he like? We came from so and so to come see David's mods, blah blah blah." And he's like, played along with it for a while, and the conversation went on. Finally, he's like, "Well, I am David Shepard," and they just erupted, and I saw a lot of that. People were always asking to see his mod sleds inside the trailer, and that's kind of what I remember from him racing. Is you're always, everyone covered up the sleds, pretty secretive about the stuff you're doing. It's not all the same, so you'd put covers on the sleds in the pits, and you'd pull them off and race them and pull them back to the trailer.
Because anything went back then.
Anything went.
Like you could bolt 2 snowmobiles together, which the Checkets did.
Yep.
And tried that. Like you could literally build anything. It's a different ball game now. Like your factory mod Polaris, or Keith and Sam's factory mod Polarises are hand built, but it's in a matrix chassis. It's a stock engine.
Yep.
It's a 900. It's not quite the same as what was going on back then. I mean, these were constantly looking for the edge. Different chassis, different chain case, longer roll or something.
Yeah, and there's no social media. So you're like, what are people doing over the summer? What did they do? What did they come up with? You had different engines coming out. You had different chassis coming out. You had different suspensions. So, yeah, like that first race, again, secondhand, it's like everyone's looking, waiting for my dad to unload his trailer to see if he had anything new. And I think in 93 had a turbo sled and a tube chassis and a box full of pistons, and they'd throw in pistons every run. I remember finding a box of pistons in the shop, and they're all new, and I bet there was 90 pistons.
Oh, jeez.
Yep. And they would throw in pistons every run, and they still couldn't keep it running. It was bogging, and if they got it running, it was too lean to live. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, I still have pictures of that old turbo sled in the back of the shop in a tube frame chassis.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, when I talk to people that have watched a little bit of hill climb, and the circuit, RMSHA circuit, hasn't been around nearly as long as the Jackson Hill Climb, as the World Championship snowmobile hill climbing. And to put it in perspective, it was like, okay, you have Keith Curtis now.
Yep.
Before Keith Curtis, it was Rick Ward.
Yep.
Before Rick Ward, it was David Shepard.
Yeah.
Just these standalone icons. I mean, and there's a lot of other people in that era too, Kirk Williamson, and there's a ton of people in that era that deserve a ton of credit. But Dave Shepard was an icon of that segment, that trailing arm mod segment.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, and what I remember is before Rick got into mods, he was kind of your stock and improved specialist. Mm-hmm. And, even back then, Polaris was proud of, they wanted to see you win on stock sled and improved. And mod sleds were a little bit different. You couldn't even, I mean, had a Polaris power plant, but nothing else was even recognizable. And, they wouldn't even have a hood. So, that's what people love to see. But I remember, I don't think Rick and my dad competed a whole lot. So a lot of the time it was, Rick was winning a lot. My dad had massive respect for Rick. and Dad was winning a lot of the mod stuff. But there wasn't, from what I remember, there wasn't a lot of crossover at that time.
No, 'cause your dad was the mod guy.
Right.
Like, he was known for that.
Yeah, he wasn't going to ride a stock sled.
And Rick was sweeping up the contingency money. Like,
Exactly.
he was working that angle.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, two different angles for sure. So, but yeah, and then Rick, after that, Rick got into mods, and but yeah, that's really kind of what I remember about it.
Yeah. So who on the circuit now, aside from Sam and Dylan and Keith that you ride with and race with, who else is a big competitor of yours, would you say? Like, and this is all kind of a big family organization. Like, you guys kind of hang out and it's fun at the races.
Yep.
But who do you compete with a lot?
Well, you got the Montana crew, and then you kind of have the the Afton, Wyoming crew, and you got Andy and Cole, and then you got Justin Thomas, which is I raced in 2013 with Justin, and Justin and I would often find ourselves, competing. And so Justin and I kind of came up through the semi-pros together, went into the pros together. So he's always been someone I've competed with the entire time. And even now, him and I last year ran a lot of classes together. He was running 6 and 7 mod and or 6 mod at least, and so we competed a lot together. So he might be what I'd say is my rival.
Yeah.
Not in a bad sense, but I'd always like to rival against Justin.
Yeah.
So.
Did you race Tapios, Kyle and Nels at all, or?
Oh yeah.
Those guys. That was kind of Keith. Keith had to break the Kyle Tapio barrier.
Yeah. Keith and Kyle, when I first started racing, and again, I was probably semi-pro. Kyle was racing the circuit when I first got into pro. Kyle and Russ, and I raced Russ quite a bit. But yeah, I raced with them, and they raced a long time.
They did, yeah.
Nope, they raced a long time, and imagine they'll be around the circuit this year. So. Yeah.
Well, it's good to see cat support coming back to pull. We were talking on, maybe it was that RMSHA podcast. There were only like 5 guys on cats last year.
Right.
4 or 5 guys, and so maybe there's a little bit of support there, and get the Tapios back to Jackson. And
I think it will. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I haven't talked to them, but I think if they get some support, I think that you'll see them back on the circuit. So.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
And that'll be nice to see.
Well, there's got to be some kids coming up in that family too. That are need that. They need to keep going. Keep them going in the circuit. Get them going and racing.
No, they Aaron and Kyle came to silver, and I was racing A, and they were racing gold together. And I think Aaron must have been 16 or 17, but Kyle and Aaron were animals. They'd go off on a gold loop, and then they'd pass me, and then they'd go off on a gold loop, and they'd pass me again. And I think Aaron did. He's doing really well in the in enduro, hard enduro.
Yeah. Well, that Silver Kings hard enduro. It's funny how many snowmobilers are going to that as preseason training.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're really just getting off snowmobile season, and then you get into dirt biking, and it's something to look forward to. I'm not. I never did grow up dirt biking, but it is definitely something to keep you in shape and keep you behind the bars while there's no snow. So.
All right. So what's your most memorable finish racing hill climb? Back to snowmobiles.
Oh man, there's a few of them. 2013 it was semi-pro, but I got my feet wet in 2011 with 2 races, and in 2012 raced the entire circuit. Every race I gained positions in every class. So I just remember I never didn't improve in stock, improved in mod, and my best finish at Schweitzer was a 7th place or something in stock, in mod, semi-pro. And right after that, they did a hill cross. And in the hill cross, I was racing all the semi-pros. And I was racing head-to-head. And it was back to like snowcross days. I hadn't really done that before, but I did snowcross. I had a little bit of background, and I got the whole shot on everybody, and I won all my hill crosses. I think there was like 8 races. I bent, I think, 6 sets of rails. I don't know how many parts I went through. I bent my secondary clutch running into people. And, I mean, those were it was a pro RMK, and we just beat those things. But I beat a lot of the guys that were beating me, and I was like, if I'm head-to-head, I can beat them. And that gave me a lot of confidence going into 2013. And in 2013, Blair's went to the belt drive. And I won my first race at the first race of 2013. And that was pretty memorable for me, even though it's semi-pro. And then we went into the King runs for semi-pro King. And I don't remember who was going against me there, but I got right. I had a really good run, got right to the top, maybe 20 feet from the finish, and blew a quick drive. And it was like first King there.
Yeah.
It was right there. And so went to second race, and I won 2 classes at Afton. We were running in the dark, and Justin Thomas won the other class. And I had a run. I went up, had a decent run. Justin got me, and I had to make my last run in the dark. Like, it's pitch black at this time. And made my second run and couldn't get Justin, and he got me. And third race was in Pinedale. Won 2 classes, and Trace Tupper had another run. And I ran. Trace Tupper beat me. Got that second run and finally got him, and got semi-pro King. And those are the stuff. The firsts are going to stick in my mind. And then the race after that was Jackson, and it's like, all right, the big show. And went to Jackson. It, as everyone knows, it's almost impossible to qualify, and they take 5 out of 40 semi-pros. So you're like, focused on getting qualified, get a run for your finals. And I got in qualified all 3, and it was like, I got to win all these. And we got done with the day of mod day for that's on pro qualifying day.
Yeah.
And we were running finals after that, and we were still going to the top. And at that time, never been the top of Jackson. And in the stock class, I went up and got stuck in the timing lights, and that was good enough to win.
Oh, nice.
And I was stuck in the timing lights. And
did you trip the light, or was it
trip
a high
the
mark?
light?
Okay.
I did trip the light. And second run, same thing. And there's 15 of us that ran. There's four tracks over the top of the hill. Mine were 3 of them, and I swept Jackson semi-pro. And that is probably my most memorable win in the semi-pro. And because it's, at that time it felt like I had something to prove, and just felt really good to have that success in semi-pro and move into the pro. But in pro, I got my first win at Afton. It took a couple years, and then kind of didn't win for a few years, and then the next memorable moment would be Bear Valley 2024 in California. So that's the last race of the season, 2024. And I didn't have a great day. We were running Premier. I got a lot of seconds, and that was the Premier Series. So there was 10 of us in Premier. And I was in Improved and Mod Premier class. And I don't know what got into me, but I'm very calculated. I don't ride over my head a whole lot. I'm finding different ways to push constantly, but I was just like, I gotta go do everything I can to win this one. And come back to the trailer. I knew I had a good run and won Improved King at Bear Valley. And that was my first, I'd been racing pro for 13 years. And that was first pro King title. So, and it was,
those are hard to get.
I finally got Keith. Like I had beaten Keith because he wrecked or, had an issue, a big bobble. But to beat Keith when he had a good time.
Yeah, on a clean run.
That doesn't happen. Like, you could go through, and you could say it does not happen.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, 5 times in his career. And, but got that run. And then I was pumped. And I told my stepdad, Kurt, who's been there the whole time. And I was like, I don't even care. We can go home. I don't even care about mod. And he's like, well, that's when you win. When you don't care. It's like I've cared a lot about my placings over the last 12 years. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Might as well go get another one. And I come off the hill, and I knew I just bobbled just a hair at the top. And I was like, I don't know if it's enough. And I come down, and Keith is sitting to the side before the before tech.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he turns back. He's waiting for me. And I'm like, he's going to say, got you on that one, but good luck, good job and improved. I'm like, he got me. And he just said, you got me. And I blew up. I was stoked. And so that was the most memorable ones I've had. But long story, but there's a handful of memorable ones.
Yeah, it's just cool to hear, and it's, you're we've talked about it a little bit, but you're just taking that Shepherd name and the number,
yep,
and carrying on this legacy that is just such a cool story within the sport. But it's not, and just the fact that you left the sport and you went and played ball sports and focused on other things and kind of went away from snowmobiling for such a long time and then came into it so late.
Yep.
And then just the snowball effect of bringing back all of your dad's heritage in that mod sled and all those iconic moments, and then to the point now where you're competing for king wins on a regular basis and winning classes and just one of the top guys in the sport. Like,
yeah,
it's a legacy upon a legacy.
Right. And it's taken me a long time, and that's what I tell people. It's like if you want to do it, I was as inexperienced as any snowmobile rider getting into mountain riding. And I was focused on RMSHA. I did want to go win from the day I bought a mountain sled. But, I didn't have any experience. And it's tough to compete at the pro level. You got guys that, did grow up on sleds. But Mason got into it late.
Yeah.
He rode sleds. But, he's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum where he rode sleds his entire life. And maybe wanted to race, but really never hopped into it. And so he got a late start, and, he's at the top of his game too. Mm-hmm. So,
and kind of did the same thing, pro snowcross.
Yeah.
Did stuff out in the Midwest for a while. And
yep.
Yeah, it's not an easy road.
Yep.
Although some people make it look easy.
Yep. And the monkey on my back or the win over my head is at Jackson. You talked about the most memorable. I have 2 that are pretty close at Jackson, and I think Wes Selby and I had a tie, both missing the same gate in 6 mod, then had a rerun, and that was a hectic time. But that's how close it was. Is a tie and a rerun and a rules, call is what it came down to.
Yeah.
And then last year had a really good run and improved. And Cole Thomas came up and improved. And I knew at that time he's the only one that could beat me. I think he was last out. And watching his run, and it's like split time. Right there. It's going to be close. Goes through the lights at the same time.
Another one.
Same time. You can't tell. And so they had to go to the 3rd digit. And it got me by whatever 2,000ths or whatever it is.
Yeah, which is incredible.
Yep, that's how close it is
to lose that by 2,000ths of a second.
Yep. So had a tie and had a loss by, I replayed those back to back, and it's like you don't know if you caught a ski hook or a spindle. I mean, it was depending on where the bumper was, but as close as racing can get.
Yeah.
So.
But when you get that world championship at Jackson, like maybe we're building up to something. It's going to be pretty dang incredible.
No, if that happens, it's been a heck of a journey getting there.
Yeah.
So.
And I love the wrap on your sleds. We're not doing the custom paint like your dad's sled had, but you're using that blue and red, same design. It's iconic. It's just cool.
Yeah.
It's such a classy story.
Yeah, and I did that once in 2016, and everyone loved it. And I'd been doing different wraps, and it's like, I'm proud of the legacy that he had and he left, and when I had an opportunity with Arctic FX, it's like, this is me. So I kind of embrace that. I've always been running different stuff, but yeah, I kind of went full bore into that, and all my sleds are kind of sporting that retro wrap, and I just like what it kind of stands for. So, and the history behind it. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Well, Toby Shepherd, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing these stories. I hope the fan base just doubled out there. Like there's a lot of people pulling for you.
Yep.
A lot of people that know who you are based on your dad, but man, just Toby Shepherd in and of yourself.
Yep.
Is a phenomenal racer, and you're building that name, you're building a legacy, you're building upon a legacy, and there's a lot of people pulling for you. And that's going to be pretty cool to be standing at the bottom of Jackson when you do get that first world championship.
No, I'm still chasing it, and no, it's been a heck of a journey, and it's been fun. We have a lot of local guys that have, my dad was best friends with Sam's dad, and they raced a lot of cross country together, and Shane Hart looked a lot up to my dad and ran turbos with nitrous, and now his son's in it. And so Dylan Hart's second gen in RMSHA, and I raced with Trace Tupper, and his dad raced. And no, it's kind of cool to see this second generation bringing it on. And no, I'm excited for RMSHA, and I think it's kind of headed in the right direction. So.
Yep. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
If you're watching this from home, and if you want to watch the RMSHA circuit, you can watch every single race on Flow Racing. You can sign up for a membership there, and you can watch these guys go to every single race. At the beginning of the season, I think they have 8 races on the schedule this year, counting Jackson.
Yep.
You can watch live stream of Jackson Hole World Championship Hill Climb from the Jackson Snow Devils. You can watch that live stream as well. But it's also cool to come out, come to Jackson Hole in March and go watch that thing happen. And come to Jackson Hole next year, because March 2026, that's when you're going to lock down that championship.
That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. Thanks for watching, though. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. The more we get built up there, the more of these we can keep churning out. It really helps with that. Go to snowwest.com, check out the magazine, 53 years in print, and we'll be doing that for years to come. So sign up for SnoWest magazine. Check out the T-shirts and shirts and hoodies that are on there, hats and hoodies and everything that's on there. But I really appreciate you listening, and thanks again, Toby Shepherd, for coming on the show.
No, thank you.